Warning, this is not a drill. Today I'm going to undoubtedly prove to you that Luffy's based on Hanuman, Joy Boy's based on Rama, Emu's based on Ravana, and Blackbeard is based on 3 We're also going to be talking about the final war of One Piece and how it's going to unfold. Like, this video is actually beyond mind-blowing, so make sure you have a bucket nearby to catch your head. So a good foundation to this theory is that Monkey D. Luffy is based on a Hindu monkey god named Hanuman. Now, the popular belief is that Luffy's based on Sun Wukong, but it's important to know that Sun Wukong is based on Hanuman. And the differences between Hanuman and Sun Wukong are important because you can apply them to Luffy, but you can't apply them to Sun Wukong. If I can get you to believe that this relationship and inspiration exists, you're gonna see exactly how the final war of One Piece unfolds. Now, there's over 100 similarities between Luffy and Hanuman, and I really don't want to drag on this video, so I'm gonna show you 5 of the strongest reasons why Luffy is definitely based on Hanuman. 1. In chapter 1048, Luffy does an attack against Kaido called Bajrang Gun. Bajrang is another name for Hanuman. They're basically the exact same thing. So Hanuman has already directly impacted the story of One Piece. 2. Both Hanuman and Luffy tried eating the sun, thinking it was a regular fruit. 3. Both Hanuman and Luffy are monkey kings who can stretch, enlarge parts of their body, and be immune to electricity. 4. Hanuman is the son of Vayu, and in Hindu mythology, Vayu was a legendary man known as the Lord of the Winds, just like Dragon. And 5. He's also the son of Cassidy. Cassidy is a monkey chief who once went to a holy location to save holy saints by beating down a great monster with his bare fist, and Cassidy was then labeled as a hero for that. Like I said, there are so many similarities between Luffy and Hanuman, but I'm not going to be here all day. Today we're going to talk about Blackbeard, Emu, and the final war. So now that we've established how Luffy is based on Hanuman, we can finally talk about Blackbeard. One of the biggest enemies that Hanuman has ever faced was an anti-god named 3 Right off the bat, you can see that 3 and Blackbeard's flag is the same exact thing. 3 heads facing the same exact directions. Now, 3 is an Ashura in Hindu religion, and this should sound familiar to you because Zoro has an attack called Ashura in the story. So Blackbeard being based on an Ashura is very likely, given Ashuras are already in the story. And you can even see that Zoro's Ashura attack is foreshadowing Blackbeard and his true nature. Now, 3 is an Ashura with 3 heads, and each of them have a name: Somapitha, Surapitha, and Anada. This could very well imply that Blackbeard is the combination of 3 different people. This is definitely not a new theory, but given that Blackbeard is based on 3 this gives a lot of credence to that theory. A lot of people point back to chapter 225 when Luffy and Zoro first met Blackbeard. They walked away from Blackbeard saying there's more than one. The simple explanation is that they could be referring to his crew, given that they did encounter Doc Q earlier in the arc, and them being chased by the Blackbeard pirates would treat that scene as foreshadowing. But the way that this scene is portrayed seems like it's more mysterious than that. And I find it ironic how out of everyone in the entire story, it takes Zoro to say it's more than just him when Zoro is an Ashura user and Blackbeard's probably an Ashura itself. If Blackbeard is based on a 3-headed demon, it explains why Zoro and Luffy said there's more than one. We also can't ignore how it seems as if Blackbeard has 3 different personalities, which yet again connects to the lore of 3 It is told that one head was responsible for drinking, one head observes his surroundings, and with the last head he used it to read the 4 Vedas. Vedas literally translates to knowledge, but these religious texts originated in ancient India and are the oldest scriptures of Hinduism. Now, there's actually 4 Vedas: the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. Are the 4 Vedas in Hinduism an inspiration for the 4 red poneglyphs in One Piece? If they are, then this means that one of Blackbeard's souls is able to read the poneglyphs, which completely changes the dynamic of One Piece. In a good or bad way, I don't know, but the fact that 3 has 3 different dynamics dealing with him, this explains what's going on with Blackbeard throughout the story, especially if you take into account his flag. Like, every single crew in One Piece has a flag that directly correlates with their captain. Luffy's flag has a straw hat because Luffy wears a straw hat. The Revolutionary Army has a dragon because the leader is named Dragon. And Blackbeard has 3 skulls because he is based on the 3-headed demon named 3 We can also refer back to chapter 966, where Buggy says that Blackbeard has never slept in his life. This would imply that Blackbeard's sleeping quirk has always been a thing, so he must have been born that way and not turned that way. If Blackbeard was born as 3 different souls combined into one, this explains why he never sleeps. He rotates between the 3 different souls, and when they're inactive, they're basically sleeping, they're basically resting. So rather than Blackbeard shutting down and going to sleep, he switches to another head, he switches to another soul, which is why he's never slept in his life. We can also take a look at Cavendish, which I believe is foreshadowing Blackbeard and his 3 personalities, souls, or heads. Cavendish suffers from a split personality known as Hakuba, and this is only active when his dominant personality is sleeping. So saying that Blackbeard has 3 different souls, 3 different personalities, and one takes over when the other characters are sleeping fits into the story of One Piece perfectly. It fits into the story organically. I also want to point out how during Marineford, Marco says that Blackbeard eating another fruit is only made possible because of his weird body. If we know Blackbeard has a weird body and he's been weird ever since he was born, this implies that it wasn't a devil fruit that made him the way he is. So theories such as the Yami Yami no Mi allowing him to have multiple devil fruits is simply not true. Blackbeard was born different. If he was born as Siamese twins, tripled personality, or tripled souls, that explains why he will have 3 devil fruits, presumably a Zoan type devil fruit in the future. We also know that Vegapunk is hundreds of years advanced and that he even knows how to make devil fruits. So it's possible that Vegapunk created a human that defies the golden rule of devil fruits, that one man may eat 1 devil fruit. Vegapunk and Blackbeard could have been separated at some point, but essentially Blackbeard is a Vegapunk experiment gone right. Or simply, Blackbeard was the outcome of 3 combined souls. Oda has already played with souls a lot, just like a Big Mom and Brook. I also want to point out a picture of young Blackbeard that Oda once drew, because we could see Blackbeard crying. A picture tells 1,000 words, and we can actually use this picture to support the theory. We could say that Blackbeard was having a hard upbringing because he did not know how to live with or control the 3 heads or 3 souls in his body. But that's enough theorizing on Blackbeard. If you have more details and evidence about him having 3 souls, comment down below. But regardless, there's more than enough evidence to say that Luffy's based on Hanuman and Blackbeard is based on 3 Sidas. Now let's actually turn our attention to chapter 908, where Imu is shown to be in a beautiful garden. It's important to think about how this is in a garden of all places. I want you to hold on to this idea for later. When Imu's shown in this garden, they are stabbing 4 different posters. The posters being Luffy, Blackbeard, Shirahoshi, and Vivi. Now there's endless theories as to what this could mean. Like some people think that they are the 4 gods of One Piece, but today I'm here to explain to you exactly what it means. So like we said, Luffy's based on Hanuman, which implies Blackbeard is based on 3 Sidas. So the 2 remaining posters are Vivi and Shirahoshi. Do you think we could connect and correlate this with Hanuman and his lore? Spoiler alert, we can. So let's start with Shirahoshi. In Hindu religion, Hanuman had a friend named Suvanamacha, and this friend was a mermaid princess that Hanuman met underwater. I also want to point out that this friend of Hanuman, the mermaid princess, lived under a rock bridge. We can easily connect this story of Hanuman and Suvanamacha to One Piece. Luffy had a friend named Shirahoshi, and this friend was a mermaid princess that Luffy met underwater. And Shirahoshi of all places lives under a rock bridge called the Red Line. Clearly Luffy and beyond is inspired by Hindu religion, but it doesn't end there. The final poster is Vivi. Now this one's a little bit tricky, but Vivi's based on Sita. And in order for this to make sense to you, I need to explain 2 different powerful deities. Now the first one is named Rama, and the second one is named Ravana. Now let's start with the first one named Rama. I definitely believe that Joy Boy is based on Rama. In Hindu religion, Rama is considered as the supreme being, and Rama also sits in the heart of Hanuman. Now let's note that Rama had a wife named Sita. There is a great event called the War of Lanka, and I'll be diving into this later. But during this war, Rama had his wife Sita kidnapped by the other deity named Ravana. Ravana was a demonic king of an army and was portrayed to be an evil character. Now let's break this down into One Piece terms so this makes sense. Rama, aka Joy Boy, had a great war against Ravana, aka Emu. We do know that Joy Boy died, but we also know that Joy Boy to some extent lives in the heart of Luffy. Being that 1, Vivi's a Nefertari, 2, the Nefertaris refused to join the world government, and 3, Emu brought Vivi's poster to the Gorosei, I am arguing that Luffy's going to follow in the footsteps of the War of Lanka. Luffy will act as both Rama and Hanuman by fighting against Ravana to rescue Sita. It's also possible that Vivi's a reincarnation of Joy Boy's wife who refused to join the world government, because we already know that the Nefertari family betrayed the world government 800 years ago by refusing to join the world government. Shirahoshi's already established as a reincarnation, and Luffy to some extent is a reincarnation of Joy Boy. I won't get into the semantics of what a reincarnation means or what it is, but you see what I'm trying to say. Oh yeah, fun fact, Ravana held Sita captive in a garden. Remember that garden I was telling you to remember? Yeah, I find it ironic that Emu had Vivi's poster and was stabbing it in the garden. Maybe Emu will bring Vivi to that garden to make the parallel the exact same as the Hindu mythology. But anyways, now we understand the 4 posters that Emu had in the garden. Luffy aka Hanuman, Blackbeard aka 3 Sidas, Shirahoshi aka Suvanamacha, and Vivi aka Sita. So Emu aka Ravana decided to grab Vivi aka Sita's poster and bring it to the Gorosei to kidnap Vivi. I also want to point out chapter 906. Emu visited what appears to be a giant straw hat, and many people believe that it was the hat of Joy Boy. Well, you know what? I agree. It would make sense that Ravana brought a picture of Hanuman to the hat of Rama. Maybe Ravana realized the deep connection between Hanuman and Rama. In other words, Emu brought a picture of Luffy to the hat of Joy Boy because Emu realized the deep connection connection between Luffy and Joy Boy? Could Ravana, aka Imu, be luring out Hanuman, aka Luffy, by kidnapping Sita, aka Vivi? Now it's time to talk about a super famous event in Hindu religion called the War of Lanka. I believe Oda's heavily inspired by this due to all the connections we've already drawn from Luffy to Blackbeard to Shirahoshi to Vivi. Lanka in Hindu epics acts as the island fortress capital of the legendary king Ravana. Ravana, aka Imu, lives in Lanka, aka Marijwa. If we put this in One Piece terms, it does make sense and it does fit the story, given that Marijwa is based on Lanka. And given that this huge war took place in Lanka, it does fit the popular belief that the final war of One Piece takes place at Marijwa. Now in the war at Lanka, there's a monkey army led by Rama fighting against Ravana. Being that Joy Boy is based on Rama, he could have lost against Imu in the 20 Kingdoms, but is returning in the form of Luffy. The War of Lanka states that Rama, aka Luffy, defeated Ravana, aka Imu, and managed to rescue the kidnapped wife Sita, aka Vivi. Now as far as the powers of Ravana goes, he was made invincible and had the power to assume any form he wished, from men to mountains to death itself. He was so powerful that he could cause earthquakes and storms. This is quite interesting because Kaido's made to seem invincible, and people like Bon Clay can take any form. And we've seen death itself in the form of a Grim Reaper, and people like Whitebeard can cause earthquakes. So a battle against a deity like this in One Piece makes sense and it can fit into the story organically. Luffy fighting an invincible character that can take any forms is kind of like Luffy versus Katakuri, but turned up to the max. But this is not the only great battle that took place during the War of Lanka. So during this war, Hanuman fights and beheads 3 Siras. Now I don't think that Luffy's gonna behead and kill Blackbeard because 1, this is a shonen manga and Oda won't have the main character kill someone, and 2, Oda stated in an SBS that Luffy doesn't kill his enemies so that they have to live with their dreams shattered. But regardless, Luffy aka Hanuman is gonna fight a 3-headed demon named 3 Siras aka Blackbeard. I also wonder if Zunisha is gonna play a large role in the final war, so let's talk about Zunisha. In Hindu religion, Hanuman had a friend named Ganesha. This friend Ganesha once had a full human body but angered another god named Shiva. This god Shiva beheaded Ganesha and replaced his head with the first animal he saw. And can you guess what that very first animal he saw was? An elephant. If we apply this logic to One Piece, Zunisha was a human who was turned into an elephant. And this would make sense as Zunisha was the Nakama of Joy Boy at some point. So it's very well possible that Zunisha was a human crewmate of Joy Boy. Ganesha and Zunisha sound similar phonetically and sound similar story-wise. Hopefully we could see Zunisha come back during the final war to get revenge against Imu. But regardless, the War of Lanka fits One Piece's narrative and most popular theories perfectly. Monkey D. Luffy will fight a 3-souled person named Blackbeard. Then he will fight a demonic king named Imu. And finally, One Piece will end with Luffy rescuing the first princess he befriended, Vivi. It all comes full circle.